Suspend your disbelief, your rational, analytic mind, just for a minute, just for the length of this podcast. What if all I am about to tell you is the truth? What if the information you will be provided is from a divine source? Just for this time, I am your Axis Mundi. Consider this podcast your channel, your second opinion. When I do a reading, something larger than myself is working through me. So ask what you wish. This is your channel, your doorway to the divine. Welcome to JohnsTarot. Thank you very much. Welcome to you from Germany, Ireland, Russia, Sweden. I usually get Poland on there too. And in the United States, California, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Illinois, Massachusetts, Oregon, Virginia. Welcome to JohnsTarot. I get those locations off of I do a podcast once a week on Tuesday, podcast only. And I get that from my podcast provider. I get some other details off my internet provider. I really don't dig into YouTube that much. If you would like me to mention your city or your locale, send me an email, and I will mention you. I'm at john@johnstarot.net. Also, if you would like to be a guest on JohnsTarot, send me an email, and we'll set up an opportunity to do an interview. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you have something that's a burning issue, we'll go ahead and do that. Or you have a book you want to promote, or a cause you want to promote. Let's keep it a positive cause, and we'll move on that. Today I'm going to talk about the I Ching. Let me move over to my presentation page, because we have so much stuff going on here in our society, and what's going on in our world right now. And the I Ching for me has been a very useful guide throughout life, and has served to really calm me down a lot, a great deal. And we're going to do an I Ching. We're going to do an I Ching experience. And if you stick it out to at least to the midpoint of this podcast, where I take you through the I Ching, you will have an I Ching experience, and you will see what that feels like. And this is going to be a feeling experience. And I'm going to post take a look at something that I asked the other day, and then how the I Ching responded to me. And we're going to experiment with it a little bit today. So let me move over to my I Ching page. So here I am at my I Ching page. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is the I Ching, and then we're going to do a little experiment. The I Ching is a very ancient text, also known as the Book of Changes or Classic of Changes. It's one of the oldest and most influential texts in Chinese history. It's a profound blend of philosophy, cosmology, and divination that dates back over 3,000 years. Originating during the Western Zhou dynasty around the 9th century BC. So it really comes to us from great antiquity. What is the I Ching? It's a divination manual based on 64 hexagrams, each composed of 6 lines that are either broken yin or solid yang. These hexagrams represent different states of change and transformation, offering guidance on how to navigate life's uncertainty. Users traditionally cast coins or yarrow sticks to generate a hexagram, then consult the text for interpretation. So, the I Ching is an oracle, and it's an oracle you can get, and there's a third way you could do it. You can get a copy of it on your phone. I use a Brian Brown Walker version. Is a current edition of the I Ching I use. And I use that one because it's very up to date, very modern, and easy to use. And he has an app for it, for your phone. And the I Ching very easily lends itself to the digital application, because inside these hexagrams, what happens is you throw coins or the arrow sticks, but within the I Ching itself is actually contains the binary system of mathematics. How somebody from 3,000 years ago figured out the binary code, I have no idea, but it's encoded within the I Ching. And the I Ching is a book of wisdom, and it'll answer your questions. It is a guide. It has been my guide. Let me tell you how I encountered the I Ching. I didn't even know there was such a thing. I talked about it in past videos, and it's been very helpful on my journey. So what happened to me was I was practicing. I was still getting loaded. This is like I'm 36 years sober, so I must have been like 37 years ago. And I started practicing Buddhism because I'm looking for a way to change my life. I can't. I was so hopelessly out of control and couldn't even identify the problem, what the exact problem was. Little did I know I was the problem. Well, that's a topic for another video. So anyway, I'm practicing Buddhism, and this friend of mine, she wasn't a girlfriend, but she was an acquaintance of mine, must have saw this book in a bookstore and gave it to me. And she gave me a copy of the I Ching. Let's see if I have a picture of that. This is the copy that she gave me. This is the R.L. Wing version. I don't know if you can see it. This is the copy that she gave me. So I never sought out the I Ching. The I Ching sought me out and found me. And I was pretty confused during that period of time. But I did finally figure out what it was and how to work it. And it's not that complicated. If you get a paperback version, and these versions of the I Ching are all over on the internet. They're all over on Amazon. Like I said, this book has been with us for, 3,000 years? And there's a reason a book has been with us for 3,000 years, because it's so applicable. And it takes every possible human situation and breaks it down into a particular slice in time. So in essence, you are taking a slice in time and taking a look at it. And it's been very useful to me and giving me another way to look at it. I had always been so very, I'll use the term, inflammatory. Quick to judgment, with a hot temper. And the I Ching has been very useful in calming me down. It's always given me advice about, slow down, be thoughtful, be modest, have humility, and that's really been helpful to me as a guide in my life. And now during these difficult times, and I have a little video of difficult times that we're going through. We can all use a guide to help us. I've been using this I Ching now for 36, 37 years, and there's a reason I've been using it for that long. I've been using it that long because it's been very useful, very, very helpful in order to help me see at the core what is going on here and what do I need to do and how can I elicit change and live comfortably. I think that's the key point. How can I live comfortably? When I started doing this podcast, I think I picked it up around last January and December. I picked it back up again. I said that I was going to try to help my viewers and my listeners get through these difficult times. And that's why I'm doing this bit on the I Ching. I suggest you get a copy and you practice with it. I think it's only, whatever it costs to get a digital version for your phone or $10, $20. And it's worth it for you to experiment with it because it's going to help you get through these challenging times. Now, what I'm going to do as part of my little exercise, and let's see here, what else I got up here? I think that's a copy that I have, the Brian Brown Walker version. That's the version I have. Now, what we're going to do is I am going to play a couple of videos, okay? And these videos are designed, I'm doing this with intent to get you a little stirred up, to get you a little anxious, and maybe to get you a little mad. And that's okay. My goal here is to get you a little mad. But my goal here is to show you how the I Ching will help you with these feelings, how the I Ching will help you get through these difficult times, because these are videos of the times that we're going through right now. So let me go through my first video. My first video is on President Trump. Remember we just had somebody pass away, Charlie Kirk. He was assassinated. And this is a portion of the video. I'm not going to play the whole video, and that would be too much pain. This is a portion of the video where President Trump is inflammatory rather than healing. Right after the assassination, where he should be calling for calm, he is looking for to inflame his followers and let's start another riot like he did on January 6th. And that is what my first one. Before we even had a suspect in custody, he was making wild statements. So that's my first video. So let me go ahead and play that video.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
So right away he gets into the radical left. This is the problem of the he said, and rather than saying, we need to have a moment of calm and we need to find out who did this, and we'll prosecute, and the person won't get away, but he wants to be inflammatory. So that kind of got me riled up. But this is just representative of the times that we're going through right now, that we're experiencing. So the next one I have, the next little video, is of Stephen Miller at the Charlie Kirk service. Now, it's just my opinion, but when you have a funeral service, just my opinion, when you have a funeral service, it's to help process grief. It's to help people through a difficult time and offer a time of reflection, a time, to have fond memories of the person who's passed away. But that's not what this administration does. That's not the path they take at all. So let me go ahead and play the video of Mr. Stephen Miller, who I'm no fan of either.
Those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing.
Yeah. So that's not the type of thing I am trying to do. So that gets me all stirred up. And that's just an example of the things that are currently going on. We got issues going on. There's a political polarization and who is right and who is wrong. I get all stirred up, and I asked the I Ching. I says, how can I? What should I do about this? What path should I follow? You should ask questions to the I Ching. What path should I follow to resolve a certain situation? What can I expect if I take a certain action? And the oracle will answer your questions. And I was so shocked. I got this oracle. The first oracle came back. Now, when you do it, you'll have if you have broken lines, you'll get two oracles, and you'll get a little guidance at the end of the first oracle, the first hexagram. I say oracle, hexagram. And this is how the I Ching answered me. So now we're still okay. So the first one that came back was, it describes the situation. Hexagram 6, conflict. Whenever we allow ourselves to be drawn off balance, away from the strength of quiet integrity, we are in conflict. It matters not whether the confrontation is between competing values in one's own mind or with another person. It is the inner departure from clarity and equanimity that leaves us with feelings of despair and vulnerability. The only remedy is to disengage from the problem and return to quiet contemplation of what is correct. Conflict provokes strong feelings of doubt, fear, anxiety, and impatience to resolve the situation. If you act under the influence of these inferior emotions, you will severely complicate the misfortune. By following the prescription of the sage and returning to a position of neutrality, acceptance, and detachment, you are able to meet opposing forces halfway, not recoiling in anger and condemnation, not pressing forward for some unnatural change in things, but waiting calmly in the center until the higher power provides the correct solution. Now, the sage, when it talks about the sage, is talking about the wisdom of the I Ching. The I Ching teaches us that all conflict is, in the end, inner conflict, which correctly frames it. It's my inner conflict that I'm addressing the I Ching about. What do I do with my inner conflict about these issues? When you see it beginning, you are obliged not to pursue it, for this only compounds your own misfortune. If you cannot regain your equanimity on your own, then seek the assistance of a just and impartial person in resolving the difficulty. The only way to live free of conflict is to hold steadfastly to proper principles in all things. Through balance, patience, and devotion to inner truth, we rise above every challenge. So it completely describes the situation and gives me some basic guidelines on what I should be focused on. I should not be focused so much on external things, but internal things, in order to remain centered and not stirred up by the inflammatory rhetoric of some of these people. And then it gave me some specific direction with the changing line 5. One is wise to turn the conflict over to the jurisdiction of the sage or a just arbiter. Good fortune obtains. So it's in the program I'm involved with, 12-step program, there is a term called turning it over, a concept called turning it over. I don't know if other people do that type of thing. So one is wise to turn the conflict over to the jurisdiction of the sage or a just arbiter. Good fortune obtains. So I'm to take this conflict, this inner conflict, and turn it over to my higher power. Now, I'll talk a little bit about this 12-step stuff. When you turn something over to your higher power, you're saying, hey, this problem is bigger than me. I can't deal with it. Here, you deal with it. And if it's really troubling and it's going through your head all night, they often say, well, you can give the problem to God. He's going to be up all night anyway. It's just a concept. So it would be wise for me to take this conflict and turn it over to my higher power and let him sort it out. And I'm to back away. Now, this is what I can expect in the future. After the changing line, it gives me a future future hexagram or future oracle. The hexagram 67 before completion. And this one actually calmed me down a little bit. The image of this hexagram is that of the spring. A time when the darkness and decay of winter are about to give way to the light and plenty of summer. The transition is not yet complete. Here it depends upon your strengthening your clarity, calm, and conscientiousness. So it's telling me change is in the air. This is not going to go on forever, but I need to strengthen my clarity, calm, and conscientiousness. And I really like that. The decay of winter are about to give way to the light and plenty of summer. That's what we can expect. This thing is going to change. This hexagram often comes as an indication that we have not yet achieved a genuine inner equanimity. As long as we respond to outer pressures with our egos by worrying, desiring, or becoming aggressive, we cannot attain a successful repose. The I Ching reminds us now to abandon the hysterics of the ego in favor of acceptance, modesty, and inner balance. This hexagram denotes a time of great responsibility. So now it puts the responsibility back on me. It instructs me to retain my inner equanimity and drop the hysterics of my ego, the mania of this administration, and don't engage in that. And to abandon the hysterics of the ego in favor of acceptance, modesty, and inner balance. And this is going to be the key to change. So this hexagram denotes a time of great responsibility. It's my responsibility in a very real sense. It can be said that the state of the world depends upon your thoughts and conduct now. The external world will only come into order if the inner world has done so. Therefore, seek now to correct whatever in yourself is at odds with the principles of the sage. Quiet your ego. Make humility and acceptance your primary goals, and move forward like a fox walking on ice, cautiously, deliberately, and gently. By persevering in what is true and good, you'll build the foundation upon which good fortune can come to rest. So when I read that reading from the I Ching, I'm calmed down a little bit. The problem is not these people. The problem is me remaining centered and calm. And how do I get through? They're going to do whatever they're going to do. But I can change the external world by changing my internal world. We're all connected. Everything is connected. My internal world is connected to the external world. So that if I change myself, I can change the world in a small way. And if enough of us change our internal selves, we can affect external events. And that is my little example of the I Ching. Go ahead and get yourself a copy, especially during these times that we're going through right now, where these people are trying to be inflammatory and pull us off balance. We need to keep our balance, keep our center, and move forward cautiously like a fox walking on ice, deliberately and gently. By preserving what is true and good, you build a foundation upon which fortune can come to rest. And that's what we need to do. That is the advice of the Oracle. And it seems like very wise advice to me. I'm not that smart, but the Oracle is very smart. And I think over a long period of time of my using the I Ching, it has definitely affected me in positive ways. Other ways you can use it, I remember once I used it once my father I was in school and I was doing okay in school, but I had a couple semesters ago and my father wasn't doing well, and he was in Indiana and I was in California, and I was wondering about his condition. How's he doing over there? What do I need to know? And the I Ching gave me clear guidance. He wasn't doing well. Continue doing what I'm doing. You can attend to it later. And that was all true. My father's health was he was a terminal alcoholic, and he was in liver failure, and I needed to finish what I was doing, though, which was my education process. And when I finished my education, I got over there and I attended to business over there. I had another issue. These are just simple issues that I Ching has helped me with. I had a car that I was trying to sell, and my aunt, who has since passed away, said, "Oh, sell the car to so and so, but he doesn't have the money. He'll give it to you on payments." And I didn't feel too good about that, and I asked the I Ching about, should I give this guy what would happen if I give this guy this car on payments? And it gave me clear advice: don't do that. Do not do that. And then a couple of weeks later, I heard the guy ended up in jail for something. I forget what it was. And the I Ching gave me good advice. It's always given me good advice. It's always given me a pause to think. And I would suggest that anyone listening to this podcast, give it a try. I like the version I talked to you about, the Brian Brown Walker version. It's very clear and up to date. I have the original version. I have the I forget the name of it. This was brought into the European lexicon in the 1700s, and I have a copy of that original book. I forget the name of the guy who brought it over to us from China. But I have a copy of that too. Carl Jung was big into the I Ching, and he wrote a postscript to the I Ching in this original copy. I think it's the William. I want to say Williams version. I know I got that wrong, but so it's worth doing. It's worth looking into, and it's inexpensive and it's very helpful. And I think it'll help us through these difficult times we're currently going through. So what are we going to do next? I think, where am I at? Oh, wow. I think I'm going to do a quick tarot reading and then move on. I'll do a tarot reading on the federal government could shut down soon. Here's what you need to know. So we're going to, just to do a quick tarot reading. So there's a possibility of our federal government shutting down. And here's what can we expect. And I'm going to go ahead and move over to my tarot page. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck. I should make these cards a little bigger so we can see them. There we go. So let's shuffle the deck. Now, this government shutdown could be an opportunity to shut down our current leadership, and it be an expression of our dissatisfaction with the way the country is going. So it could boil down to that. The current Democrats are just using it, are just talking about bringing back social welfare, not social welfare, that's a bad term, but health care for the disadvantaged. And I'm all for that. But our current administration, our leadership, nope, that's not reasonable. To provide health care for the poor is not, we're not. So there's going to be a big argument. So what can we expect? And this is going to happen next Tuesday. So let's see what happens with the tarot on this. So what can we expect from the government shutdown next Tuesday? And I'll throw a couple of runes on this too. What can we expect in regard to the government shutdown on Tuesday? And this will just take a look at the question. The Page of Coins. Then Page of Coins has to do with compounding interest, which is kind of an interesting. The second card is the Three of Pentacles. And then the third card, and then the Three of Pentacles has to do with building something and constructing something. And the third card is the Two of Swords. I don't think we're going to have a quick resolution to this problem. Let me throw some runes on this. And we'll see what Odin, Freya, will help guide this reading. What can we expect in regard to the government shutdown on Tuesday? The Page of Coins, Three of Pentacles, and the Two of Swords. My first rune is Isa. It has to do with just like that fox walking across ice, to walk carefully across icy field, Isa. And then the second rune is called Iwas. And there's going to be a pause. And then the third rune for the Two of Swords is called Perthel. So the Page of Coins, this shutdown definitely has to do with finances. We have a big deficit, and how are we going to manage this deficit? And we have other problems in regards to the way our government is currently being run. And is the current administration compounding these problems through tariffs and things of that nature? So that encompasses the problem right there. And then what you can expect is this is going to be a slow process. You know, it took a long time to get here. It took a long time for the country to be in this position financially, and it's going to take a long time for it to straighten out again. But we need, so nothing really rash needs to happen. And I think our administration in the first 8 months has been very rash. This has happened over a long period of time. It needs to be slowly adjusted. And now the rune Isa is talking about that needs to be done carefully. So as we look at the compound interest, the compounding of inflation, the compounding of the problems with the tariffs, that this problem needs to be adjusted slowly, like walking on ice. We shouldn't do anything rash. We should do things carefully. Because remember, we're building, the tarot card is the Three of Pentacles. That represents the country. We're building something great. It's not done yet. This country is always a work in progress. And you see a bricklayer there with a priest and an architect, and they're giving him advice, and they respect they respected input given by the mason. And then we're building a church. That has to do with the country. We're building a country here. We're not done building this country. And that's each one of us need to have some kind of input into what's going on with this country. So this might be a time to actually give this some thought and contact your congressman, because we're still building. We're in a place of building an edifice, something that'll last, and we want the input of qualified people into what's going to happen here. And the rune Iwaz has to do with waiting. We may hit a period of shutdown, or we'll be in a period of waiting. And then during this period of waiting, we need to plan carefully for how we want to, the change we want to implement. And this is what I'm getting from the tarot and the runes. So during this, Iwaz is a time of waiting, and the destiny, not destiny, I want to say, the deity is at work here. And we got to see kind of work the higher power is going to put in. And then the third tarot card is a Two of Swords. That has to do with conflicting ideas and conflicting ideologies, which seems to be very appropriate considering we got the two political parties, and gathering of information. You see her there, the woman blindfolded with the two swords across her chest. And those are the two conflicting ideologies. And then we need to take a broader view. We need to collect all the information from both sides and take a broader view. The rune is called Pertho, and that has to do with on one hand, it has to do with a gaming cup that holds dice. The game is in process. On the other hand, it also has to do with a bird soaring above difficulties in order to gain a broader view of what's going on, rather than us being polarized and stuck in our individual political points of view. We need to rise above that and take a broader view on which direction we should go. And that is the path to success in this situation. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up for today.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot!
Well, it was my pleasure. I'm glad I was able to come out here today and do a little reading and talk about the I Ching. I hope you found that interesting and helpful. It kind of predicts some change is going to happen here, but the change first needs to happen within us. Like I said, if you would like to be a guest, looking for guests, I would like to do an interview, and I do a podcast on. I've been doing a podcast on Tuesday, podcast only. You can pick that up on any of your podcast apps, JohnsTarot. If you want to contact me for topics you would like me to talk about, send me an email at JohnsTarot, John at JohnsTarot.net, and I will get the email, and we'll take a look at the topics you submit, because ultimately I want to be of service to as many people as possible. As somebody who's been individuated, I'm not going to reach everybody. I'm going to reach only a small part of the population, and the people who I'm talking to have probably experienced some level of individuation and are looking for some growth, personal growth and development, and they're on that path. And not everybody's on that path. So good on you. And I will talk to you all next week. Be careful, be cool, be kind, and remember, have strength. Have strength, find courage, find faith, and I'll talk to you all next week or on Tuesday. All right, bye-bye.